Good morning, everybody.
Good
Our,
morning.
good morning. Our parsha is Vayigash.
Blessings.
Unbelievable parsha, like all the parshas, but here we have one of the turning points that is really, I think, a unique moment in the whole Bible, when the brothers meeting Yosef, the same guy that they wanted to kill and then decided to sell. And after years, they are confronting him, and the unbelievable happens. They realize that all his dreams came true. And not only this, that they came true, it means that what they thought about him was wrong, totally wrong. Now think for a minute, somebody who lives all his life in a certain idea and suddenly finds out that all his life, all the way of his life, he did a big mistake. This is an unbelievable feeling. And that's why our sages say that this point, when Joseph is,
Misjudged him.
Joseph is telling him, Ani Yosef, A'od Avi Chai, this moment was an unbelievable moment. This moment, they couldn't stand it. And they collapsed. The Midrash says that they died, like they had a heart attack, and God gave them back their soul. Why? Very simple. You know, the brothers, they are not exactly evil people. They are good people. Now imagine to yourself that you're thinking all your years that you're doing a mitzvah, and suddenly you find out not only you didn't do the mitzvah, you did a bigger sin that can be. Because if they would have killed him, okay, they killed him in this world, but he still got the next world. But when they sold him to those Arabs, when they sold him out, they made him go to a place where impurity is. It's a dirty place. All the sins of the world, all the desires, all the physical materialistic things, and this young fellow is going to be there. So for sure he is going to be influenced by this rotten influence, by this evil influence, and become one of them. This is why when they come back to their father after they meet Joseph and tell him, Joseph is alive, Joseph is alive, and he is the ruler of Egypt. He couldn't believe them. What do you mean? What does he think that they lying to him? No. For him, physical life has got no meaning if there is no spirituality in it. If you leave your spirituality and if you're an evil guy, if you're a sinner, this is not living. This is dead. Okay, you move, you eat, you drink. And they tell him that Joseph, they left home in a very young age, a crucial age where all your desires and all the lust and all your hormones are working. He is now the ruler of Egypt. What does it mean? It means that he is the king of impurity. He is the king of how do you say, the most evil things that can be. He is a sinner. And by the way, what do you think the brother, where did they think if they're going to find him? Where did they think they're going to find him? In the palace? No. They were sure they're going to find as a slave, poor, or in a whorehouse, who knows where. Definitely not in front of them as the ruler of Egypt. And only when Yaakov Avinu understands that Yosef, his son, he is not a part of the impurity of Egypt. He is not a part of this distracted society. He's not a part of this, let's say, impurity, of this running after the desires and lust. He rules it. He doesn't care about it. He is on top of it. It doesn't affect him the same way, by the way, that was with Yaakov. Yaakov was living with Laban HaRasha, and he still kept all the mitzvahs, and he didn't get corrupted by him. And here, when he understands that with all the corruption around him, Joseph, it didn't affect him, and he is on top of it. So he revived, and his soul was filled with joy and happiness. But there was another reason for the joy and happiness. Because Yaakov Avinu knew that the only way that happiness and joy, and there is going to be a continuance to Am Yisrael, there were going to be Am Yisrael, is when we are all together. And in the minute that Joseph made peace with the brothers, and they told him, he found us, we found him, and we are now all together, and they all keep the Torah, they all go in the good way, in the right way. This what made Yaakov Avinu happy. And this is telling us an unbelievable thing. When we are standing in front of decisions in life, and we look around us, and we just now finished Hanukkah a week ago, a few days ago, and the light of Hanukkah should light our life in the reality of the Torah, with a real light, not with a darkness that looks like light of all this running after satisfaction, immediate satisfaction, and all other things. As we saw, what is Yosef saying? Et echai anochi mevakesh. Last week he's told, I'm looking for my brothers. This was his way of life. He knew that his brother don't exactly love him, but he still was seeking for their friendship. And he was willing to do anything in order to get to it. To the point that if we look at it, this is a saint. The brothers that he's meeting now, they wanted to kill him. Then they sold him. And he's showing them his love, and they don't believe it. He has to try and convince them again and again and again. When we look at it, we see an unbelievable procedure. When he is revealing himself, Ani Yosef, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? By the way, is my father still alive is also one of the biggest rebukes in the Bible. Because Judah is standing and telling him, you wanted us to bring our brother, and if we don't come back with him, our father is going to die. And again and again and again, he's telling about how his father is going to suffer and he's going to die if they don't come back with Binyamin. So now Joseph is revealing himself and telling him, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? But they told you before that he's alive. So why do you ask now? He's not asking. He's telling them a fact. When you sold me, did you think about our father? You're telling me now that if you don't come back with Binyamin, your father is going to suffer. He can die. He can get a heart attack. Why didn't you think about this before when you sold me? Did you think about my father? Is my father still alive after what you did to him? A hard rebuke. And again, and they couldn't answer him. But then, Joseph is telling him, come to me. And they come. Remember, I am Joseph, your brother. He's telling them, I'm still your brother. Doesn't matter what you did. You sold me to Egypt, yes. Don't worry about it. Don't be sad. Because you sold me. Because God sent me here that I will have now the power to support you. 2 years is already famine, and it's going to stay for 5 years more. And God sent me. He says, you didn't send me. God sent me here. So I can give you whatever I can give in order to revive you, in order to give you good life. And again he's telling, and now, not you. You didn't send me here. Ki Elokim. God sent me here, and he made me a father of Pharaoh. He made me the ruler of Egypt, not you. And again he's telling them, he's telling you going to do this and going to do this. And only after, when he falls on the neck of his brother and he's kissing him and crying, then he kisses all the other brothers and kisses them again, cries. Only then, and his brother talked with him. And this is very interesting because it all started, if you remember, it all started that they couldn't speak with him because they thought he's an arrogant guy, he's a liar, he's all the bad things of the world. He's not suitable. That's why they decided to kill him. And then they sold him. And they couldn't talk with him from this day on. And this now is the first time that they talk with Joseph. And now we're looking how Joseph is trying to convince them that it's not their fault. They were just messengers of God, and even more, again and again. Is it the famous story I told you once about this king? He had this big diamond, the biggest diamond in the world, let's say. And one day this diamond fell in a certain way, and it's got scratched. And now it's a shame when it got scratched, it's going to lose a lot of the value. So it's going all let's say all the professionals that are going to check, and the jewelers and the diamond people, that they're going to fix it. And everybody's looking at the diamond, telling him, sorry, my king, if we're going to touch it, we are going to ruin it completely, because it's going to divide to 2 or to 3 or maybe even to 4 when we try to do something here. That's it. So he's trying again, and he's calling, and he's written that he's going to give a big prize to it. And eventually somebody comes, says, my dear king, let me see the stone. He looks at the stone and he tells the king, you know what? Not only I'm going to bring it back to the value it was before, I'm going to double the value of the stone. The king is looking at it. Are you crazy or something? All the best people came here and told me it's impossible to do anything with the stone. And you are telling me that you're going to double the value? What are you, a joker? So when we look at it and we see that at the end of the day, somebody he couldn't go in? No. Okay. So he's telling the king, you know what I'm going to do? You see the stone? You see you've got this scratch here? I'm going to take this very thin thing, and I'm going to take the scratch and scratch it even more. He says, what? So don't worry. I'm going to scratch in the crown, and I'm going to put your initials on the stones also. You see, I'm going to say, the king couldn't believe his eyes, what this guy is telling him. And really, now, when he's doing this, that he's got the biggest stone in the world with his initials and the crown on it. Wow, this is really double the money. And this is what Joseph says, the Magid Midubna. This is what Joseph is telling his brothers. What did you do? Not only you didn't do any harm to me, because of you, I am now the ruler of Egypt. So you did very good. You think you scratched me. You think you ruined me. You think you didn't do any of this. And it's all from God. Look on this Yosef HaTzadik, and really teaching us a big lesson that we never give up, that we have to try to make contact with our brothers and sisters, with those that are far away, and try to bring them closer. And if we try hard enough, we will do what Joseph is doing. We will make everybody to understand and believe that we love you. We love everybody, and we want all Am Yisrael to be together. But we have to learn from Joseph. He didn't care. He didn't care where he was. This reminds me of a story. There was this fancy restaurant in New York. And this guy was in the restaurant, and he looks around. Wow, fancy restaurant. He looks at the menu. Wow, what unbelievable things he's got there. And he's already he wants to eat already. So he orders from the waiter the best meal that he can. The main course, best one. And he's sitting, looking around, there's chandeliers at the tables, everything, first class. Suddenly, he sees near him, sits a Jew. And this guy is an anti-Semite. He hates Jews. And if he had the option, he would have get up and take this Jew and throw him out of the restaurant. But this is a high-class restaurant. You have to behave like a. So he doesn't know what to do. So what is he doing? He's called the waiter and says, I want you to give ice cream to all the people in the restaurant. He says, what do you want me to tip? It's $50 one portion. Times 35. No, not 35, 34. This guy, you don't give him. The Jew, only 34. So the waiter goes, 50 times 34, wow, a lot of money. And he brings everybody ice cream. So now he looks at the Jew and says, this, now he will stop smiling, this guy. And he looks at this Jew and this Jew is smiling. So he calls the waiter, give everybody a bottle of wine, the best one. What have you got? It's $100 a bottle. Doesn't matter. I've got the money, but you don't give him. So he is giving all those people a bottle of wine, $100 a bottle, 34 people, 34 tables, unbelievable. Then he looks at the Jew, and the Jew is smiling even more. Amazing crazy. He calls the waiter, come here. What is your best main course? Tells him this, $150. Okay, you give everybody a main course. I pay. You don't give this one. The waiter, $150 times 34. Don't even try to do the calculation, talking about a lot of money. Now he looks at the Jew and he's sure now is going to come down. This Jew is going to be sad. But this Jew now is smiling. The smile comes to his eyes. So he couldn't stand it anymore. Says, what's going on here? He approaches this Jew and says, I want to understand. You know, I insulted you with the ice cream. Then I gave everybody your wine and didn't give you. And then a main course to everybody, not to you. You're not insulted. You're not offended. What's happening with you? And the Jew looks at him. I'm the owner of the restaurant. He is the owner of the restaurant. So this guy was paying and making this Jew richer and richer every minute. Because we don't even understand what is the real picture behind, what is behind everything that we do. This is the power that made Joseph smile when he was in jail, when he was a slave, when he was everywhere, whatever it was, he was smiling. Why? Because he knew, I believe in God, and whatever God does is for the best. And I owe my soul. I know that I believe in God, and everything that happens is for the best. So maybe now it doesn't look like it, but it's going to lead to this mission, to this thing that is going to be. And what happened? He is smiling everywhere. In the end, he is the ruler of Egypt. So when you look from the outside and look at the pictures, oh, how he's a poor guy. Look what happened to him. But he's smiling because he knows it all leads. He owns his world. He knows what is real and what is wrong. He knows what is the truth. And this is the power of Joseph. And this is when he sees his brother, after all they did to him, it doesn't matter. He maybe suffered from the outside, but from the inside, he was always happy because we see that God is with him all the time. And God is not with somebody who is sad. Elokim ito, it says written, whatever he does, God makes him successful. In other words, even in the pit, even when he's a slave, he's happy. This is Joseph. This unbelievable power is God. And this is what we have to understand. We own the world. If we go in the way of God, we own the world. It's all ours. And even if sometimes we suffer, it doesn't matter. It's all for the good. It's all for our benefit. And this is how he is trying so hard to make sure that his brother are going to understand it and realize it and go with him and come together with him to come back to him. And, you know, I think a year ago, I saw unbelievable words, his last word of Steve Jobs. You know who Steve Jobs is? This is the CEO, the legendary owner of Apple. And he died at the age of 56 after 8 years of struggling with cancer. And he is right. I'm not going to read everything. And I also wrote it in Hebrew, so I have to translate it back to English. And he is writing, I got to the peak of success in the business world. In other eyes, my life is the asset of success. But with this, accept the fact that I have very little joy At the end of the day, wealth is only a fact. I'm used to it. It's a fact of life. You know, when you have, doesn't matter how much you have, you get used to everything. And at this moment, when I'm lying on my bed ill and I'm remembering all my life, I understand that all the knowledge and all the wealth that I've got, it's got no meaning. It's meaningless in front, confronting the death that is going to come very quick. You can hire a driver that will take you wherever you want. You can hire people to earn money for you, but you cannot hire somebody to take your sickness, your illness. Find physical, materialistic things, but there is one thing that you cannot find, and when it's lost, and it's life. As long as we get older and get wiser, we get wiser as we get older, and we slowly but surely understand the meaning of life. A watch that costs $30 and a watch that costs $300, they both show you the same time. Your wallet, if it's worth $30 or $1,000, the money that is in it, it's not going to change. It's the same amount of money. We are driving a car that costs $150,000 or $30,000. It brings us to the same place. It gets us from one point to the other point. We can drink a very expensive bottle of whiskey, but we get drunk the same way from a bottle that costs you $4 or $5. If the house you live has got 300 square meters or 3,000 square meters, you are still going to be lonely there. It doesn't matter what is the size. And if you're telling me, even if it's bigger, it's even, you feel even lonelier. So the real inner joy doesn't come from physical, materialistic things of this world. This is a goy writing, you know, you have to understand it. Beni Matar, even if you're flying in the first class or in the tourist class, if the plane crashes, you crash with it. It doesn't matter if you fly in the business class, the first class, or the other class. I hope that you understand that when you have friends or somebody to talk with, that's real happiness. 5 facts that you cannot deny. Don't raise your kids to be wealthy. Raise them to be happy. So when they grow up, they will know the value of things and not the price of things. Eat the food like you eat medicine. In other words, eat healthy. Or in our case, eat kosher. Otherwise, you will have to eat your medicine like your food. In other words, your food is going to be medicine. Once those who love you will never leave you. Even if they have 100 reasons to give up on you, they will always find a reason to keep up. There is a big difference between being a man, a human being, than to being a mensch. If you want to go quick, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. I think that those words are really a moral book to everyone, to understand and realize what is important in life and what is not. And you know, reading this from this guy, Steve Jobs, really, he's a clever guy. But you know, when we sometimes a goy has to tell us the truth about our life. And this tempting world and the way we look at life, we look at those who are successful from let's say from the physical materialistic way, and we think, wow, how successful, how happy they are. But the real truth is that this doesn't give any happiness. And who is more than this guy who had everything in life? This Steve Jobs. And this is what Joseph is trying to tell us. He is in Egypt. You know, after going through hell, he is now the ruler of Egypt. He's got all the joys of life, all the materialistic things that he can even imagine. We cannot imagine. And he stays in his purity. And this is the message that we have to get. Be aware and be careful and understand what is the important things in life and what is rubbish, what is not important. Joseph looks for the real connection because he understands and realizes that the only way to go through this world in the right way is not only being spiritual, it's not only being holy and keeping the mitzvahs, it's being together. Alone, it's not it. Our Kodesh Baruch Hu wants us to be together. And this is what makes Yaakov Avinu adore Joseph and understand that he, Yaakov Avinu, was very successful with his education. If he brought Joseph to the level that he can confront anything, everything in life he confronted, whatever he went through, he stood up and kept the good way. And then on top of it, after all what his brothers did to him, he makes sure that they will understand that he loves them and he wants their love and he wants them to be together. This is one of the biggest lessons of the parsha. From one side, I am Joseph, is my father still alive? To look and understand that the things that we do, what is the effect of them, of others? And make sure to check our way here and there if we are really still on the right way. And then, says, I'm asking, I want my brothers. And this is what Joseph is. Ani Yosef, I am Joseph, and he's convincing them that they did nothing wrong to him, that he loves them, though whatever they did doesn't matter, because everything is for the best. And this is the way to look at life. Sometimes we go through difficult times, and we think to ourselves, what's going to be? So remember Joseph. Doesn't matter where he was always with God, believing that everything is for the good. And this is what's also now happening. The thing is that we have to look around and try and make sure that we can spread love in the right way, in the inner way, not all those outside things, but real, true love. And with this real, true love, Be'ezrat Hashem, we will bring the Geula Shlema b'mera b'yameinu. Amen.